So there's a perception in our society right now when it comes to science and religion that there's two sides. And there's a belief that if you buy anything in either of those columns, you've got to buy everything in that column. And the goal is to demonize the other side, as opposed to trying to actually have conversations here.
There are people who would start with the assumption that only religion could be correct, and maybe there are scientific truths that coincidentally come to the same conclusion as religion, but ultimately, like, religion is our arbiter of what's real. And there are others who would say, well, religion represents pre-modern efforts to get to the same point, but we're going to use science as our yardstick for figuring out what is actually true.
And they focus on very different issues, which is not always obvious, it seems, to scientists or religious people. They seem to believe they have a truth that defines everything, but I think there are different ways to look at the world and different issues.
How do we have these conversations where we can talk across differences, where we can recognize that this is a false dichotomy? There is a sense where there's value in multiple different sources of truth, multiple sources of wisdom.
I think that both scientists and people of faith understand that big questions can't be answered alone, and that our answers become deeper and richer and wiser when we're talking to others, to like-minded people.
That ability to sort of hold multiple truths at the same time, I think that's a very Jewish concept, but I also think it's a very scientific concept, because science is always evolving. Like, we recognize that the world in which we live is one that evolves and changes. We don't reconfigure Judaism to fit the world, but Judaism is very much aware of, and I think encourages us to think about our practice and think about our beliefs as the world around us evolves with it. That those things should always be sort of in concert and not in competition.
There's wisdom from a variety of different sources. These are all different ways of approaching these kinds of questions.
Both disciplines sort of share a sense that anything that can help shed light on truth should be brought to bear.
In the same way as trying to understand what does it mean to be human, you ask a physicist, you ask a neuroscientist, you ask an anthropologist, you're going to get different answers here because they're approaching it in different kinds of ways. Both science and I think Judaism and religion at its best gives us a provisional truth, a provisional answer to live in for right now.
There's a story in the Bible where there's a talking donkey. And you have some rabbis who say, yeah, this donkey was created during the first days of creation. It's a sort of like outside of the bounds of nature donkey that actually spoke. And you have another rabbi who says, no, it was just a dream. Like, donkeys don't talk. And so you now have like two well-known, well-respected rabbis, both saying, one saying, yes, it was a talking donkey, and one saying it was not. They both exist in our tradition, and they're both grounded, and they're not minority opinions. And we have to learn to live with both of them. And what greater gift to give to people than the ability to feel comfortable with nuance and the ability to hold multiple truths at the same time.